Okay, so here's the second T2 module paper. This one is a specimen paper. It's a paper that the exam board have issued to give you an idea of the various types of questions they're going to ask on module T2. It's an hour and 30 minutes and there's 23 questions, so just over 3 minutes a question, or roughly every half an hour. Make sure you've done at least 8 questions. Again, all the T2 question papers are calculator papers, so you'll light a calculator, and please again remember, show your working. It says here all working should be shown in the spaces provided. St. Marks will be awarded for partially correct solutions. Okay, the formula sheet is the same in all the foundation papers. You get 2 formulas, one for the area of a trapezium, one for the volume of a prism. If you need either of those formulas, make sure to look at your formula sheet. Okay, so we'll start off. First page will show you the 2 questions on it, let you have a go at them. So if you want to stop the video now and have a go at question 1, and then I'll scroll down. Again, there's question 2. If you want to stop the video and have a go at that, we'll go through the solutions in a moment. Okay, so here's question 1, and I've circled the same way as you can do, circle or highlight the key words or key numbers in the question. We've got 5 kilograms of potatoes, 2 kilograms of onions, altogether cost $4.10, and they tell you that 1 kilogram of potatoes costs 62p, and you have to work out the cost of a kilogram of potatoes and a kilogram of onions, and then get the total of those two for the final answer. So let's write down what we know. 1 kilogram of potatoes costs 62p, so 5 kilograms, which is what we want up here, must cost 62p multiplied by 5, which is 310p, and we usually write that as £3.10. But we already know that the 5 kilograms of potatoes plus the 2 kilograms of onions cost £4.10. So if we take away the cost of the 5 kilograms of potatoes, take that £3.10 away from the £4.10, we end up with £1, and that must have been the cost of the 2 kilograms of onions. So if we know 2 kilograms of onions cost £1, then 1 kilogram of onions must have cost £1 divided by 2, which is 50p. So the question actually asks for the cost together of 1 kilogram of potatoes, 1 kilogram of onions. So we know the potatoes are 62p a kilogram, the onions we just worked out as 50p a kilogram. Add that together and we get 112p, which we write as £1.12p in our answer there. And going down to question 2, this time we're asked to simplify. Again, it's a good idea if you put a circle round. I put a red circle round the 2 terms that are the same. We've got 5p here, we've got minus 3p here, so we're going to combine those 2 terms together because they're the same type of term. So plus 5p minus 3p, and that leaves us with 2p or plus 2p. And then in green I've circled minus 2r plus 5r. Those are both r terms, so we can combine those together. Probably best to put the plus 5r first, minus 2r, and that gives us 3r or plus 3r. And those 2 together, then we end up with 2p plus 3r, and that's our answer. 2b then, expand this. We've got a bracket here with minus 2 outside the bracket. So just to remind you, expand just means to multiply out the bracket. And what that means is we're going to multiply minus 2 by the first term in the bracket, by 2y, and then we're going to go back and multiply minus 2 by the second term in the bracket, which is minus 3. So I've written them out separately here. Minus 2 multiplied by 2y. Just take the numbers on their own first. 2 times 2 is 4. That's y then, that's 4y. And minus multiplied by a plus gives you a minus, so that ends up as minus 4y. Then we've got minus 2 multiplied by minus 3. So do the numbers first. 2 times 3 is 6. Then the signs, minus multiplied by minus gives us plus. So that ends up as minus 4y plus 6, and that's our answer. Okay, so here's question 3, 3A, B and C. So if you like to stop the video and have a go at those on your own first, and then we'll go through the answers in a moment. Okay, so first part says the cube of 2.8. So just to remind you, the cube means 2.8 cubed, or to the power of 3. Now you've got a special key in your calculator which does the cubes or power of 3 of a number, or if you don't have a scientific calculator, which you really need to have, you can just do it as 2.8 times 2.8 times 2.8, and your answer should be 21.952. Part B then, we've got 2.3 squared, or to the power of 2, plus square root of 1.69. So again, you have special keys in your calculator for squaring. So 2.3 squared should be 5.29, and you have a special key for the square root. The square root of 1.69 should be 1.3, and when you add those together, you should get 6.59. The last one then, 3C, 5.6 squared, and you use your squared key in your calculator, it should be 31.36, and you're dividing that answer by 3.4, and you should get 9.22. Okay, so here's question 4. If you want to stop the video, have a look at it and try it yourself. And then I'll scroll down to question 5. So again, just stop the video, have a good look at question 5 and have a go at it yourself, and we'll go through the solutions in a moment. Okay, question 4, it's a stem and leaf diagram showing the results of a year 12 physics test. So please be careful here, have a look, make sure you understand what the key means. So the key is telling you that 5 and then this vertical line 4 means 54%. So all these numbers are percentages. So 5, 4, 54%. 5 and the 6 is 56%, and so on. So it says how many pupils sat the physics test. So really you need to count how many results there are. So you've got 92 is one result, 95 is another, 97 is another. So really you need to count all the numbers on the right hand side of that vertical line there, and when you count them all up, there's 20 results. So there's 20 pupils who sat the physics test. Part B then is what is the modal percentage mark. Again, put a circle or highlight that keyword there, the modal. And of course you need to remember that modal or mode is the most common result in the stem and leaf diagram. So hopefully when you look back up through all the results there, you can see that 79, 79 and 79 appears, in fact it appears 3 times, so it's 3 times, and no other result appears as many times as that, so that means that 79% is the modal result, or the modal percentage mark. Part C then, again, highlight or put a circle around the key word, which is range. So you need to remember that range is going to be the biggest percentage, take away the smallest percentage. If you scroll back up to the the stem and leaf, you'll see that 97 is the largest result, the largest percentage, and 46 is the lowest percentage. So you subtract those two numbers and you get your range is 51%. Going down to question 5. This one here, remember in each of these papers you'll see at least one question it'll mention these words here. Quality of written communication will be assessed in this question, and it's very important for you to explain clearly, showing every line of working that you can in order to get the marks for these questions. If you just write down an answer, you will get 0 marks if you don't set it out clearly, because they want to see that you can communicate the answer clearly. So again, the key words are circled or highlights. Fred has won 900 quid. He's promised a fifth to his daughter Kathy and a quarter to his son James. How much will he have left after he pays out Kathy and James their amount of money? So first of all, we're going to work out a fifth of £900. So remember, that's 900 divided by 5, which is 180. Then James gets a quarter of the 900. So we'll work out a quarter of 900. 900 divided by 4 is 225. So those two together, we add the 180 and the 225, and that comes to £405. And then how much has he left out of his original £900? So we're going to subtract the 405 from 900 and we get £495. Okay, here's question 6. It's another one of those bearing questions that keep cropping up on these T2 papers. I'll scroll down just to give you an idea. It tells you the positions of 2 towns A and B are shown on the grid. So there's A and B. It tells you that a third town is on a bearing of 120 degrees from B and at a distance of 2.5 kilometers from B. And it tells you the scale. 1 centimeter is 0.5 of a kilometer. You've got to mark the position of C and then find out how far is it from C to A. So have a think about that one first, and then we'll go through the solution in a minute. Okay, so here's question 6, and we're told that there was a third town, I think it was, this point C, which was on a bearing of 120 degrees from B. So you need to remember, if you see it's from B, so wherever the letter that's after the from is, that's where you're going to have to draw your north line, or add a north line if you don't already have a grid, because that's the north line is where we're going to measure our 120 degrees from. So if I drag over the protractor, you can see we're starting off at north at the 0 point, and we're going to measure clockwise from north. So we're going to use the inside scale, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 110, 120. We'll mark our line there, and that's our angle, 120 degrees from north in a clockwise direction. So this point C is along that line. Okay, so we've drawn that line. Now we know that C is along that line somewhere. Just remind ourselves, it told us that it's 2.5 kilometers from B. So we need to find out how far do we go along the line from B till we find out where C is. We're told it's 2.5 kilometers, but the scale is 1 centimeter is half a kilometer. So what we need to find out is how many half kilometers are there in 2.5 kilometers. So using your calculator you can check that 2.5 divided by 0.5, and the answer is 5. So that means 5 centimeters is the same as 2.5 kilometers. So easy enough then to get your ruler, put it up to B and go along to 5, mark your point on that line, and you can see I've marked it with an X there. So that's the point C, which is 5 centimeters or 2.5 kilometers from B, and 120 degrees bearing measured clockwise from the north point at B. Okay, the second thing is, how far is C from A? So we know where C is, we know where A is, it was given, so we need to measure. Just put a ruler between A and C, and when you measure that, you should get 8.7 centimeters. But again, going back to the scale, we know it's 1 centimeter is 0.5 kilometers. So 8.7 centimeters is going to be 8.7 times 0.5. And when we work that out, it turns out to be 4.35 kilometers. Okay, here's question 7. It's a pie chart question. So really, probably all you can do if you're looking at this online is just to calculate the angles. So if you want to stop the video and calculate the angles there, and then we'll go through the solution in a moment. Okay, question 7. You're given a little table of data and you're asked to draw a pie chart. So first thing we need to know is, what is the total of these numbers? It tells us how Sinead spends her time on a Saturday. So when we add those up, we're not surprised to find that it comes to 24 hours. So we're going to draw a pie chart to illustrate what Sinead does throughout the 24 hours. So we're going to share the 24 hours between the whole 360 degrees in the circle of the pie chart. So first thing we need to do to work out is 360 divided by 24, and that gives us 15 degrees. So each one of the hours in our table is going to get 15 degrees. So let's see then, how does that work out for each activity? So the first activity is cleaning. It was 2 hours, but each hour gets 15 degrees, so it's 2 multiplied by 15 is 30 degrees. Then watching TV was 5 hours. But remember, each hour we've worked out gets 15 degrees, so 5 hours is going to get 15 times 5 is 75 degrees. Then shopping was 4 hours. 4 times 15 is 60. Using the internet, 3 hours. 3 times 15 is 45. Exercising, 2 hours times 15 is 30. And finally, sleeping is 8 hours times 15 is 120. And when you add up all your angles, a useful check is adding those all up, because they should come to add up to 360 degrees, the complete circle of the pie chart. Then obviously you need a protractor. Please make sure you get your own protractor so that you're sure of having one in the exam. And when you draw each of your angles, 30, 75, 60 and so on, then don't forget your labels. And when you label that all up, and if the angles are drawn accurately, you'll get full marks, which is 4 marks for doing your pie chart question. Okay, so there's question 8A and B, some algebra finding solutions. So if you want to switch off the video and have a go at that, and we'll go through the solution in a moment. Okay, so here's question 8. When you see the word solve, straight away I need you to think that you're going to find the value of x. So in this case you're solving for x, so we need an answer at the end that gives x equals some number that makes this equation correct. So remember, x over 4, when it's written like that, is the same as x divided by 4. So that's telling us x divided by 4 is equal to 15. So we're looking for a number when we divide it by 4 that gives us the answer 15. So because we're dividing by 4, we want to do the opposite of that to work out what x is. So we're going to do the opposite of divide by 4, which is multiply by 4. So when we multiply both sides by 4, the we're left with x on the left hand side and 15 multiplied by 4 on the right hand side, so we get our answer x is equal to 60. So you can check if that's right. 60 divided by 4 is equal to 15, so that's the correct answer. Okay, this one here, 6y minus 2 equals 13. So remember that minus 2, we don't want to have that there on the left hand side beside the 6y. We want to move the numbers across to the right hand side to be next to the 13. When we move the minus 3 over to the other side of the equation, you have to remember it becomes plus 2. It changes sign when we move it to the other side. So we end up with 6y is equal to 13 plus 2. So when we add 13 and 2 make 15. So we know 6y is equal to 15. So now we just want to have y on its own. So we've got to do the opposite of multiplying by 6, which is divide by 6. So we're going to divide both sides of the equation by 6, and we're left with y is equal to 15 divided by 6 is 2.5. So the answer is 2.5. Okay, so here's question 9. If you'd like to stop the video and have a go at that. And question 10. And I'll scroll down, there's 10a and 10b. So stop the video, have a go at them, and we'll go through them in a moment. Okay, so here's question 9. The next two numbers in the sequence. So again, make sure you start off with the front number. First number, see what's the difference from 11 to 10 is minus 1. From 10 to 8 is minus 2. From 8 to 5 is minus 3. So you can see the pattern now. The number is getting bigger each time. So the next one is going to be minus 4. So 5 minus 4 is going to be equal to 1. So the first answer is 1. And then the next pattern in the sequence is going to be minus 4 to minus 5. So the next number is going to be 1 minus 5, which is minus 4. So the two numbers are 1 and minus 4. Okay, question 10. In the diagram, the volume of the cuboid is 48 centimeter cubed. So just put a circle or highlight the key things in the question here. It holds exactly 48 sugar cubes, each 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. So the length is 4, so we can write 4 centimeters along that front length there. The breadth or the width is 3, so we can write 3 centimeters next to that dimension there, which is the width or the breadth. And next thing is you need to remember the formula for the volume of a cuboid is length times width times height. So we know then we've got some numbers to put in. We know the length is 4, we know the width is 3, and we don't know the height. We're trying to find out what the height is. This is the one we don't know. So we've got 4 times 3 times h, and that equals 48. We're told that the volume is 48 centimeter cubed. So we're trying to find this number here so that when we multiply 4 times 3 times this number, we get the answer 48. Now you could do it by trial and error, but another way of doing it is to say 4 times 3 is 12. So 12 times h equals 48. So to find out what h is, we're going to divide by 12. So h is 48, divide by 12, which is 4. You can check if that's right. 4 times 3 times 4 gives you 48. So that's the correct answer. So the height there is 4 centimeters. Can you make a note here? The answer here has no units. So you need to be careful. If there's no units given in the answer, you have to remember to put in the units. So the answer there is 4 centimeters. So to get the third mark, you need to remember to put the units, which is centimeters. Part B then, write down the dimensions of another cuboid that the 48 cubes could fit into. So what we're looking for here are 3 more numbers that multiply together to give you the answer 48. So you could have, there's lots of different answers here. You could have 4 multiplied by 6 multiplied by 2. When you work those out, it gives you the answer 48. Or you could have 8 times 3 times 2. You multiply those, they give you the answer 48. 48 times 1 times 1. That is also as a volume of 48. And 24 times 2 times 1 and so on. So I've just put one of the solutions in there, 4 times 6 times 2. But any solution of 3 numbers that multiplies to give you 48 is the correct answer. Okay, so there's question 11, if you want to have a look at that, and we'll go through the answer in a minute. So here's 11a. Find the value of that calculation, giving your answer correct to 1 decimal place. So you need to remember here that obviously you need a calculator for this. So we'll work out the top first. 3.8 times 6.2 is 23.56. Write that down. Work out the bottom. 9.1 minus 2.7 is 6.4. And then we're going to divide the top answer by the bottom answer. So 23.56 divided by 6.4 gets you, on your calculator, write down the numbers 3.68125, and then go back and remember it says correct to 1 decimal place. So the number in the first decimal place is the 6. I put a little green line under it. We're going to look at the number to the right of that. It's an 8. So that 8 is telling us to round the 6 up, so it becomes 3.7 to 1 decimal place. Some of you might want to do this whole calculation on your calculator, but you need to be careful, because if you want to do it all at one time in your calculator, you have to remember to put brackets in to tell the calculator that you want it to work out 3.8 times 6.2 first. So you start off with the bracket, 3.8 multiplied by 6.2, close the bracket, then divide, open another bracket, 9.1 minus 2.7, close the bracket, press equals, and you get exactly the same answer. And then you round that to 3.7, the same as above. Okay, so here's 11b and 11c. If you want to stop the video, have a go at those, and we'll go through the solutions in a moment. Okay, so here's 11b. We've got, this is 11 and 11. So again, sort of highlight or circle the key numbers and words in the question. The price of the TV is $790, but it's reduced by 15%, and they want to know the sale price. So first of all, find 15% of 790. Obviously, hopefully you remember 15% is 15 over 100 multiplied by 790. If you key that into your calculator, you get 118.50. But remember, this is a reduction or a discount, so you've got to subtract that amount from the original price, which is 790. So 790 take away 118.5 is 671.50, and that's your answer for the sale price. 11c then, we've got Mary's family drinks 3 cartons of orange juice in 5 days. How many cartons would Mary need to buy for a full week? Of course, full week is 7 days. So let's write down what we know. Start off, 5 days, they drink 3 cartons. So one way of doing this is to say, okay, how much do they drink in 1 day? So in 5 days, 3 cartons, so 1 day is going to be a fifth of that, or 3 divided by 5, which is 0.6 cartons. So now we know how much do they drink in 1 day, so we can work out how much then do they drink in 7 days, a full week. So it's going to be 7 multiplied by 0.6, which is 4.2 cartons. And let's have a look at that. So obviously they need to buy then obviously the 5 cartons. You can't buy 4.2 cartons, so they need to buy 5 cartons. Okay, here's question 12. It's another algebra one. So if you want to stop the video, have a go at that, and we'll go through the solution in a minute. Okay, question 12. So we write down an expression for the total cost of X bars of chocolate at 35p each and Y bottles of water at 50p each. So look at the chocolate first. We know 1 bar costs 35p, so X bars is going to cost 35xp. You don't have to write the p there, it's just 35x is enough. For the water, it tells us 1 bottle costs 50p, so Y bottles is going to cost 50y. So the total of those two together is going to be 35x plus 50y, and that's your answer. Okay, here's question 13. You're going to draw a graph of y equals 4x minus 3. So you could stop the video, and if you could do out a grid like that and just have a go at that one, and then we'll go through the solution in a moment. Okay, so for question 13, anytime you get one of these questions asking you to draw a graph of an equation like this, y is equal to 4x minus 3, you really need to draw a table out with some x values along the top. Here we've got x, we're going to use 0, 1, 2 and 3. We're going to use whatever the equation is. In this case it tells us that y is equal to 4x minus 3. So we're going to use the different values of x. We're going to substitute them into the equation and work out what y is. Probably best to start over here where x is equal to 3. So now we're going to use, anytime we see x in this equation, we're going to substitute the number 3. So 4 times x is 4 times 3, which is 12. Take away 3, so that means y is equal to 9. Then we'll try x is equal to 2. So we know the equation tells us that y is 4x, so 4 times 2 is 8. Take away 3, which is 5. So this time y is equal to 5. Then we're going to work out for x is equal to 1. So 4 times x is 4 times 1, which is 4. Take away 3, so y is equal to 1. And then finally, when x is equal to 0, 4 times x, so it's 4 times 0, which is 0. Take away 3, so we've got y is equal to minus 3. The purpose of that is now we've got an x and a y coordinate. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 points that we can plot if the grid is big enough. So start off with x is equal to 0 and minus 3. So x is equal to 0 and y is minus 3. So our first point is there. Next point is x is 1, y is 1. So we go along to 1 on the x-axis and up to 1 on the y-axis. We mark our point there. Third point, x is 2, y is 5. So we go along to 2 on the x-axis and up to 5, and we mark our point there. You can see x3, y is equal to 9. We haven't got enough room on the grid to plot that, but it's way up here somewhere. But it doesn't matter, because 3 points is enough to join up our points and get a straight line graph. So remember, you must use a ruler and make sure that the straight line goes through exactly through those 3 points that you've plotted. If one of them looks not to be in the straight line, go back and check if you've worked it out correctly, because they are guaranteed to be on a straight line, because this is a straight line graph. y is equal to 4x minus 3. Okay, here's question 14. So if you want to stop the video, have a look at that and have a go at it, and we'll go through the solution in a moment. Okay, so here's question 14. So we're told that the quadrilateral, that's a four-sided polygon, has angles x, 79, 3x and 97. Work out the value of x. So the thing you need to remember here is that the interior angles of any quadrilateral add up to 360 degrees, because any quadrilateral can be divided into two triangles. So remember, if you had a quadrilateral four-sided shape and you draw a diagonal across to the opposite side, it splits into two triangles. Each of them is 180 degrees inside it. So altogether, the quadrilateral, the angles inside add up to 360. So you know that those four angles there must add up to 360 degrees. So we can add them up. We know the four angles are x plus 79 plus 3x plus 97, but we know that they must add up to 360 degrees. So we have a little equation here that we can solve. So let's collect together the two x terms. We've got 3x plus another x makes 4x, and we've got 79 degrees plus 97 degrees. When we add those together, we get 176. So that side of the equation ends up as 4x plus 176 equals 360. So remember, we want to put the numbers together on the right hand side of the equation. We want to leave the x's over here, so we've got 4x, and we're going to move that plus 176 to the other side of the equation, and it becomes minus 176, because when we move it to the other side, when we change the side, we change the sign. So we end up with 4x is equal to 360, take away 176, so 4x is equal to 184. But remember, now we know what 4x is, but we just want to find x on its own. So we're going to get rid of that multiply by 4 by doing the opposite of multiply by 4, which is divide by 4. So when we divide by 4, we end up with x is equal to 184 divided by 4, which is 46. So the answer is x is equal to 46 degrees. Okay, here's question 15a. You've got a triangle, and they've asked you to find the area of the triangle ABC. So if you want to turn off the video and have a go at that, we'll go through the solution in a moment. So here's 15a. We're given that the length of the line BC is 8.5 centimeters. So I've just shown the 8.5 along all the way along there, and AX is 6.4 centimeters. So that perpendicular height with the right angle there is 6.4 centimeters. And calculate the area of the triangle. So hopefully you remember that the formula for the area of a triangle is half times the base times the perpendicular height. So half, if we're keying this into a calculator, we can key that in as 0.5 multiplied by the base BC is 8.5 centimeters multiplied by this vertical or perpendicular height is 6.4 centimeters, and when you key that in, you get 27.2 centimeters squared. So that's your answer for the area of the triangle. Okay, so here's question 15b. You've got a regular pentagon A, B, C, D, E, and you have to work out the size of angle AOB. So that angle there that's marked there. So if you want to switch off the video and have a look at that, see if you can work it out, we'll go through the solution. Okay, 15b. We know it's a regular pentagon, and we've been asked to find this angle here, AOB, that angle there. Right, the thing to remember here is if you join up the remaining corners into the center of the pentagon, you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 triangles with angles at the center, and all those 5 angles are identical. Because it's a regular pentagon, each of those angles are the same size. So if we can work out what one of them is, we know then what the answer for AOB, this missing angle here, is. So we've got those 5 angles at the center, but of course you remember that the angles that go round a point add up to 360 degrees. So those 5 angles together make 360 degrees. So one angle must be 360 divided by 5, and that works out as 72 degrees. So each of those angles is 72 degrees, but the one we're after, AOB, is also 72 degrees. So that's the solution for 15b. Okay, there's question 16 for the area of a circle. If you want to switch off the video and have a go at that, we'll check your answer in a minute. Okay, question 16. So I've circled the key points in this. They want us to find the area of the circle. We're given the diameter of 3 meters, and it says take pi as 3.14. So we've got our formula for the area of a circle, which you definitely need to learn off. A is equal to pi times r squared. We're given the diameter is 3, so we need to work out the radius, because we need the radius in this formula, not the diameter. So the radius is 3 divided by 2, it's half the diameter, which is 1.5 meters. So now we can substitute that back into the equation. Pi 3.14, according to the instructions here, multiplied by 1.5 squared, the radius squared, and when you put that into your calculator you get 7.065 meters squared. Okay, here's 17a. You're given a table showing a survey of the speeds of cars going past a primary school. So there's your number of cars or frequency at different speeds, and you're asked to draw a bar chart. So if you want to stop the video, have a think about that, and we'll go through the solution in a moment. Okay, for 17a then, the key thing here is to get your scales correct, to get your labels correct, and make sure that your bars are to the correct height. So you can see I've done the vertical scale. Number of cars is the label, and we're going up in tens. So make sure that your scales are done correctly there, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. And along the horizontal axis we've got the different this is group frequency, so it's 0 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15, and the bars are going to be touching. And of course check that you've got the bars to the correct height, labels, and if you can put a title on, that's excellent. So that's what you need to do there to draw a grouped frequency bar chart to get your 3 marks. Okay, there's 17b and 17c, and this refers back to the table in the last part, 17a. So you need to wind back just to see what the modal class interval is. Okay, so the solutions for 17, that's question 17b and 17c. So the modal class interval, you need to remember that the mode or the modal class is the group which has most cars in it. So when you look back at the table, the group with most cars in it, there were 61 cars who were doing 16 to 20 miles per hour. So the modal class or the modal group then is 16 to 20 miles per hour. 17C, here's another one where they're telling you that your quality of written communication will be assessed in this question. So you need to be able to write down clearly in good English what your answer is. In this case, they want to know how many, Katie's doing a survey and wants to know how many times a month on average the people in her town go to the cinema. So there's the first thing you can highlight, the people in her town. She asks 200 people in her school. So again, you could circle or highlight that, because that's an important bit of information. And you've been asked to explain why this sample of people, these 200 people, may not be representative of the people in her town. Right, there's various answers here. You could have one out of any of these three. So the first one, hopefully you can see that the sample includes only young people or teenagers who are at school with her. So obviously that wouldn't be a good way to get a representative sample of the people in her town if she's only asking the young people in her school. Second answer could be the sample does not represent all age groups. Obviously she's not asking middle-aged people, she's not asking older people, she's not asking people who are younger than the ones at her school. So it doesn't represent all the age groups. And the third possible answer, the pupils in her school may not even come from her town. And remember, the survey was meant to be about the people in her town and what their cinema habits were. So obviously, if she's at a school, there may only be a few people who come from her town. So there's three possible answers you could give to get the 2 marks there. Okay, here's question 18A, B and C. So if you want to have a look at that and have a go at those, just stop the video and we'll go through the solution in a moment. So for 18A, you need to remember this method. If you're asked for a number as a product of its prime factors, there's a method that we follow to do this. We take the number and start off dividing by the smallest prime number, which is 2. So 2 goes into 72 and we get the answer 36. We're going to keep dividing by 2 as long as we can divide by 2. 2 into 36 we get 18. 2 into 18 we get 9. Now of course we can't divide by 2 anymore, so we try the next highest prime number, which is 3. 3 divides into 9, we get the answer 3. And divide by 3 again. 3 into 3 goes once, and whenever we get down to 1, that's the question finished. And all the prime factors that make up the number 72 are 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. So it's just these numbers here, and we multiply them, and when you multiply those out we get back to the number 72. So our answer is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. Okay, part B says find the lowest common multiple, LCM, of 72 and 108. So we're going to write out the multiples of each of those numbers. You have a calculator, and you're allowed a calculator, so you can use that. So it's like the times table for 108. So 108 times 1 is 108. 108 times 2 is 216. 108 times 3 is 324. Try the multiples of 72. 72 times 1 is 72. 72 times 2 is 144. 72 times 3 is 216. 72 times 4 is 288. At this stage, hopefully you can see that the lowest number that appears in both lists is 216 here, 216 there, so the answer is 216. Part 3 here then is the highest common factor of 72 and 108. So we can see here that the factors of 72, we usually write this out like this to make sure we don't forget any factors. 1 times 72 2 times 36 gives 72, 3 times 24 makes 72, 4 times 18 makes 72, 6 times 12 makes 72, and 8 times 9 makes 72. The next one would be 9 times 8, but that's a repeat of 8 times 9. So there's all our factors written out in order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, and so on, all the way up to 72. Do the same for 108. 1 times 108, 2 times 54 makes 108, 3 times 36, 4 times 27, 6 times 18, 9 times 12, and there's all our factors of 108 in order. You write them out, and this time we're looking for the highest common factor, so the highest factor that appears in both lists, and hopefully you can see that the highest number is 36, so the answer is 36. Here's question 19, £1,700 in our bank account at 4.2 simple interest. Work out the total amount in the account after 3 years. So if you want to have a go at that, just stop the video and we'll go through the solution in a moment. Okay, so the key points here which you can highlight or circle: 1,700 quid starting off, 4.2% simple interest. Find the total amount in the account after 3 years. Right, the thing to remember about simple interest is that when you work it out first, then that amount is the amount that you earn the same amount each year. So let's go back now. It's 4.2% of £1,700. So you need to remember 4.2% is 4.2 over 100 multiplied by the amount, which is £1,700. So key that into your calculator. 4.2 divided by 100 multiplied by 1,700, and you get 71.40. That's the amount of interest they earn each year. So with simple interest, it's the same amount each year. So if we've got 3 years to take into account, so it's going to be 71.40 multiplied by 3. So the total interest over the 3 years is going to be 214.20. So remember, we have to add that into the account. Started off with 1,700. For the 3 years they earned £214.20. So when you add that together, you get 1914.20 is the total amount after 3 years. Okay, there's 20A, B and C. If you want to stop the video and have a try at those, we'll go through the solutions in a moment. Okay, so 20A, we've been asked to expand and simplify. So remember, expand means multiply out the brackets. So this means that number 4 in front, we're going to multiply the 4 by each term inside the bracket. So 4 times 2 is 8. Then we're going to multiply the 4 by the minus 3x, and that gives us minus 12x. Now let's look at the second bracket. This time we've got 3 outside the bracket, so we're going to multiply each term inside the bracket by the 3. So 3 times x is 3x, and then 3 times plus 4 is plus 12. So we've got 4 terms there, but 2 of them are x terms and 2 of them are numbers, so we can combine the x terms together. We've got minus 12x plus 3x, and that gives us minus 9x, and we've got 8 plus 12 gives us 20. So our answer then is minus 9x plus 20. That's our answer. Going on to 20B then. Again, it's another one where we're expanding the bracket. That's the same as multiplying out the bracket. So we're going to multiply each term inside the bracket by this term x, which is outside the bracket. So we've got x multiplied by x squared. X times x squared is x cubed. Then we've got x multiplied by minus 6, and that gives us minus 6x. So together, those two terms together give us x cubed minus 6x. So that's our answer. Then part C, it says solve for x, and we've got 7x plus 18 equals 2 outside the bracket and x minus 6 inside the bracket. So first of all, solving means we're going to find the value of x. So x is some number that makes this equation correct. So let's see how we can solve it. First of all, we've got to multiply out this bracket. That's the first thing to do. So it's 2 multiplied by x is 2x, and then 2 multiplied by minus 6 is minus 12. So now we've got 7x plus 18 equals 2x minus 12. So we've got x's over here, we've got x's over here, so we're going to move that 2x over to the other side to be with the 7x. So that means we've got 7x minus 2x. So the plus 2x becomes minus 2x when it goes to the other side. And the plus 18, we're going to move it over to the other side here to be next to the minus 12. So when that plus 18 moves across to the other side, it becomes minus 18. So on the right hand side of the equals, we've got minus 12 minus 18. So let's collect together. We've got 7x, take away 2x, that is 5x. And we've got minus 12 minus 18. If you're not sure about that, key it into your calculator. You should get minus 30. So now we know that 5x equals minus 30. But we want to know what 1x is, so we're going to divide by 5 is minus 30, divide by 5, which is minus 6. So the answer is minus 6. Okay, here's 21a. If you want to stop the video and have a go at that one first, we'll go through the solution in a moment. Okay, 21a, we're given that it's a regular polygon, and we're told that the exterior angle is 18, and we have to find out the number of sides in the polygon. Like, I've just drawn an imaginary regular polygon here. We don't know how many sides it is, but if you can imagine, the sides go round like this. There could be 10, 20, 30 sides. We don't know yet. But what we do know is that this exterior angle, each of those exterior angles, it tells us is equal to 18 degrees. So there's a fact that you need to remember, is that the exterior angles of any polygon, it doesn't matter whether it's 4-sided, 6-sided, 10-sided, 30-sided. It doesn't matter how many sides it has, but all the exterior angles together add up to 360 degrees. You need to remember that fact, that any polygon, the exterior angles add up to 360 degrees. Now this is a regular polygon, so each of those exterior angles is 18 degrees, so we can work out the number of sides by dividing 360 by 18, and when you divide that in, you get the answer 20. So that means that this polygon has 20 sides. So the answer is 20. Okay, so here's question 21b, and you're asked to work out the volume of this triangular prism. So if you want to stop the video and have a go at that, we'll go through the solution in a moment. Okay, so for 21b, this is 21b, again the key words are, it's a triangular prism, so we've got a triangular shape at the front. It's called the cross section, and it goes back, the length of the prism is 120 centimeters, and we have to find the volume. It's a tenth, but it's the volume of this triangular prism. Right, so the formula for the volume of a prism is given on the formula sheet. So you can look back inside the front cover of the paper, and you'll see it tells you the volume of a prism is the area of the cross section, that's this triangular shape at the front, multiplied by the length. So the first thing we need to do is find the area of the triangular cross section. Okay, so I've drawn out the triangle again. We know that that's 80 centimeters, and we know that the length here is 100 centimeters, and we need to find this length here. I've called it A. So the way we're going to find that, this is a right angle triangle. We know the length opposite the right angle, which is called the hypotenuse. We know this side is 80, and we're trying to find this missing side here, which is one of the short sides. So you need to remember that Pythagoras' theorem tells you that A squared, this missing side, this short side squared, is equal to the hypotenuse squared, take away B squared, the other short side squared. So now we can fill in the missing numbers then. A squared is equal to 100 squared, that's the hypotenuse squared, take away 80 squared, which is this side squared. 100 squared is 100,000, minus 80 squared, 100 squared is 10,000, minus 80 squared is 6,400. When you subtract those, you get 3,600. So A squared is 3,600, and A then is equal to the square root of 3,600, which is 60 centimeters. So now we know that this length is 80, this missing length here is 60, and we can find the area of the triangle, which is half times the base, so we'll call the base 80, multiplied by the perpendicular height, which is 60. So that's, when you key that into your calculator, it's half is 0.5 multiplied by 80 multiplied by 60, and that works out to be 2,400 centimeters squared. So now we know the area of the cross section, that triangular area, is 2,400, and the volume then is that area of cross section multiplied by the length, and we know the length of the prism, or the length of the tent, is 120, so it's 2,400 multiplied by 120 is 288,000 centimeter cubed. So our answer is 288,000 centimeter cubed. Okay, so there's question 22, which is a table of values, and you're asked to find an estimate for the mean. And I'll just scroll down. Part B then is asking you to write down the class interval which contains the median number of hours. So if you want to stop the video and have a go at those, I'll just scroll that back up for you, and we'll go through the solution in a moment. Okay, question 2. You're given a table of data about 50 students, and this is about their number of hours they spend on the internet, and you're asked to work out an estimate for the mean. Right. The thing you need to remember here is that these are in groups, so before we can do anything with working out the mean, we've got to find the midpoint of each of these groups. So the midpoint, remember, is halfway between 0 and 3. The easy way to do it is to add the two numbers together, divide by 2. So 0 and 3 makes 3, divide by 2 is 1.5. Next one, 3 add 6 is 9, divide by 2 is 4.5. So you can see you can work out the midpoint of each of the groups, and you get marks for getting that correctly. Then the way to work out the mean from these tables then is that you're going to multiply, add, and then divide. So remember MAD. So the first multiply here is multiply the number by the midpoint, which is 2 times 1.5 is 3. Then the next one, the number of students in this group multiplied by the midpoint, which is 22.5, and so on. 11 multiplied by 7.5, 82.5. So you do all the multiplies, so you get this column of figures here, which you're going to add up. So that's the next thing. After the multiply, you add up all those numbers here, you get a total of 524. And the last thing to do to work out the mean is you're going to divide by the total number of students, which is 50. So the estimate for the mean is this total divided by the total number of students, which is 50, and when you divide that, you get the answer 10.48. And as a check, you can see, does that make sense? Does 10.48 hours seem a reasonable answer for the mean number of hours? So the lowest number of hours was 0, the highest was 20, and the mean is halfway, somewhere around the middle of the data. So 10.48 seems a reasonable answer for the mean number of hours of internet time that they spent. Next question there, B, is write down the class interval which contains the median number of hours. You need to remember that there's a total of 50 students. The median is always the middle value or the middle result. So the middle of 50 is, half of 50 is 25. So we want to find out which group or class the 25th student was in. Let's look at the table again. We've got 2 students in the first group, so obviously that the 25th student is quite far away from that. Then there's 5 in the next group, so 2 and 5 is 7. And then there's 11 in the next group, so that gets us up to 18. So the next group, hopefully you can see, to go from 18 plus another 7 would get us to the 25th student. So in other words, the median result is going to be in this group here, which is 9 to 12. So let's see how we did that. The first C groups are 2, 5 and 11, which is 18 students in them. But we need another 7 to get up to the median number, which is 25. So that means the next group is going to contain the median student, the 25th student, and the answer then is the group 9 to 12. So the answer is 9 to 12. Okay, here's the last question, which is 23. And you see you've got a table of values and it's plotting the amount of sales of ice cream against the temperature. And it asks you to plot a scatter graph on a table. So if you want to try get some squared paper and just plot the scatter graph, then part B asking you to identify any correlation. Part C, then you have to draw a line of best fit on your graph, and then finally explain what the line of best fit could be used for in this scatter graph. So if you want to have a go at that first, and then we'll go through the solution. Okay, so for the scatter graph, it's fairly simple, hopefully, for you to plot your points. So you can see I've plotted the points in red there. Your scales are done for you. Outside temperature along the horizontal axis, ice cream sales along the vertical axis, and you can see all the red points there, and you can see the line of best fit is going through the middle of the points, goes through some of them, and roughly, very roughly, the same number of points on both sides. And then when we scroll back to the previous things, hopefully we can see our answers then. That type of correlation is positive. It's going upwards from left to right, and that means that as the temperature rises, the sales of ice cream also rise, which is fairly logical. You can imagine during the summer ice cream shops sell a lot more ice cream because the temperature's hotter. The line of best fit, we've shown you that on the graph already. and then explain what the line of best fit could be used for. So if you had to predict how many ice creams would be sold at different temperatures, you could draw lines across at different temperatures, draw a line across to the line of best fit, and then down to the number of ice creams sold, and you could make an estimate or a prediction for how much you would sell at any particular temperature. So that's the answer to the last question, 23.